You ever see stuff you can't explain?
This came from somewhere else.
Oh, fleet of them, they're all going against the wind.
Life elsewhere in the universe is virtually a certainty.
CIA monkey business.
That was awful strange.
Hello.
Oh,
Hi.
wow. Hello. Way to play us in, Tal. That was a good solo, actually. That was honestly one of the best guitar solo I've ever heard in my life.
Who put the guitar there? Welcome, everyone.
Hi there.
Welcome to Take Me to Your Dealer.
Yes, that's Talia.
That's long lore.
Long Dick Laura, as
Long Dick Laura. My
I'm known in the South. Just the South, nowhere else. Okay, so we're talking about a fanciful figure in the
Big
UFO.
Bobby.
I actually came up with a song.
Wow.
Would you like to hear it?
Oh my God, please.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Ba 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 blaza. Ba 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 blaza. Ba 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 blaza. Okay, I'm done.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Thanks.
I feel like it's nice. The only one that ever comes to my mind is How LAZAR.
I know.
So it's a nice change up. Yeah.
How LAZAR. Dee dee dee. Woo doo doo. Honestly, he could fit on any song.
So Bob LAZAR, guys.
Yes. Who is he? Why is he? Why do we care? Who the fuck cares about someone named Bob LAZAR? It's obviously not his real last name.
It is his real last name, for sure. Actually, we have no way of knowing that because the government stole his birth certificate.
Oh, yeah. The government is erasing him as a person. He is not a legitimate person in the eyes of the Lord or the government.
Yeah, who knows? All right. So if you guys have ever heard about Area 51, you can thank Bob LAZAR.
Yeah.
He's the one that has really brought Area 51 to the attention of the general public.
He's the mastermind, you know? He's the one who came and spilled the beans, basically, on everything, you know? And people were not happy about that.
Yeah. He basically came out and said that he has been working at Area 51. And while he was there, they had him working on reverse engineering alien spacecraft.
What the fuck does that mean?
Spacecraft that use anti-gravitational propulsion systems.
Oh, yeah.
Might sound familiar to anybody that maybe listened to our last episode or has been following the news on any level.
If you literally have ever seen a news story that's talking about aliens in the current day, you can thank Bob LAZAR, because that is 100% everything that Bob said in the 80s is happening
In the 80s.
right now. And yeah, we should all be sucking his dick.
Yeah. I mean, wait, great.
Go on.
He made a lot of other scientific claims around this time in the 80s that ended up coming true that we can get into later.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Let's talk about who he is. Who was he in the 80s, like before all of this happened?
Okay. Well, let's pretend it's May of 1989 and you are, I don't know, sitting down for dinner with your family and you turn on the local Las Vegas TV station, KLAS, and you see a shadowy
Literally
figure.
in the shadows.
Literally in the shadows. You can't make out his face at all. And he's going by a pseudonym, Dennis, in parentheses, just in case anyone was confused.
Name.
And he starts talking about working on a government base
Okay.
on alien technology.
That's not crazy at all. That's,
Yeah.
totally fine. Just eating my green beans, watching that, hearing that, kissing my kids goodnight. It's like, all right, I got a lot to think about now in the 80s.
It's not scary or weird at all. He explains that he was working at a specific location within Area 51 called S4.
Before that, though, Bob Before. That's like, his album name, Bob Before.
Early Bob.
Yeah. He was a super duper nerd who built a rocket car. He literally put a jet engine in his like Honda, like some shitty Honda. It was like locally famous, like became, kind of like a local celeb. And he graced the cover of the Los Alamos Monitor in 1982.
Right, because he was like driving this car back and forth to Los Alamos National Lab every day when he was in his 20s. because he was working there as a physicist.
Like a real G, you know, just like casually fucking pulling up in his rocket car that went like 200 miles an hour. Like it was no fucking joke. Like
Right.
it was a very serious thing. Like he definitely got a lot of praise and recognition. The license plate said "Jet You Bet."
Wait, did it?
It did say that.
No.
So
way.
dumb. That's
He's great.
That's
No,
a negative
he's so
point for me.
cool.
I don't
Oh my
I don't
God.
like that. I will not forgive Bob for that. But everything else I like. Jet You Bet is not clever or creative at all.
I like it, Bob.
He also hosted a dudes rock festival called Desert Blast.
Oh my God. The most
Yeah,
dudes
so-
rock. They just like lit off
They just
rockets,
blew
right?
shit up in the desert for fun. Like they just
And got drunk in the
that
desert.
sounds awesome. Honestly, I would love to do that. Bob sounds like a real cool guy. That makes up for Jet You Bet.
He got his
Yeah,
point
did.
back.
That it negated. So he's just like a total dude bro, like real cool guy, you know, everybody loves him. Yes, like you said, he was a physicist at Los Alamos National Lab, or LANL.
What? Is that what they call it? They don't call
LANL
it that.
at Los Alamos National
LANL.
Lab. That's very suspiciously close to anal.
Lionel,
A little bit too close for my liking, but yeah.
if you say so.
Let's get into a little bit of what happened before he obviously broke this whole story about Area 51. Like, how did he get to Area 51?
Yeah, so Bob is zooming back and forth in this jet engine Honda to the lab.
Literally zooming.
And definitely
Yeah.
zooming. One day while he is going about his business, a man comes to the lab to give a speech.
Who is this man?
Well, none other than the hydrogen bomb daddy himself.
Daddy H-Bomb.
Ed Teller.
Daddy H-Bomb,
Daddy
Edward Teller. Yes.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about Ed Teller.
Yeah, I mean, he was also a really super chill guy, you know, bombed a lot of people, killed a lot of people, you know, definitely a war criminal.
Right.
But yeah, so he would just happen to be giving this speech at LANL
Right.
the same day that the paper came out, the Monitor or whatever.
Right. So he's like taking a little break, but in between his speeches or something, and he's just like reading the paper outside.
And then who should saunter on over but
Big Bobby himself.
Mr. Rocket Car himself, Bob LAZAR.
And you can picture this cool ass dude walking up, and he's just like really feeling himself that day, and he goes up and he's just like, hey, that's me.
Yeah, that's me. You know, no big deal. You know, he's like got like a train of women behind him, just like holding on to him, like trying to sleep with him so hard. He's just like, nah. Like he's like telling him off. And so then obviously Ed Teller was very impressed by this. You know, he was very like, I am in the midst of Jesus, I think.
Yeah, of course. Pure greatness. Yeah. So they just have a little chat, and that's kind of the end of that. Fast forward 6 years later, 1988.
He's a man now.
He's a full-grown man, and he needs a real man's job.
Yes.
So he gets to Vegas, and he hits up Teller.
Yeah.
Kind of as like a long shot. He's just like, hey, man.
Right.
Remember me? I'm that newspaper
it's like
boy.
the equivalent of like sending like an Instagram DM to somebody really powerful today, you know, just like shot in the dark, like, but hey, I'm a producer, like listen to my beats, you know, like
remember me,
yeah, exactly.
The little guy?
It actually worked out though.
Well, kind of. I mean, he was like, yeah, do you have a job for me? And Teller said, no, but I could definitely get you an interview.
Yeah. So yeah, he got him an interview at EG&G, which is a United States national defense contractor and provider of management and technical services. And they provided such services to Area 51.
Right. So Area 51 is at the McLaren Air Force Base, right? Or he interviewed at the McLaren Air Force Base.
Sure.
For this job. Yeah. Not really knowing anything about Area 51 specifically.
No, at the time it was just like not a thing. It was not a thing.
They described the job to him as just general physics, and he's just like,
yeah, okay,
cool.
Fine. Yes, I know.
Sweet. I know how to generalize
that. I know
that.
general physics, and I'm your man. So they send him to S4.
Okay, I love how he gets to the Air Force Base. They fly him on an airplane to the separate location where he then gets on a bus with other scientists, and then from there they get to S4.
Shit. It's like Coachella, like fucking shuttling around like the big rock stars, and it's like, where am I going to end up? I
Can
don't
you
even know.
imagine? He must have loved
Yeah, he
it.
was feeling really cool. He really had like
Yeah.
a big ego, Bob, I think. That is one criticism I'll say. I think his ego got away from him. But anyway, I'll talk more about that later. So this was located at Groom Lake, right, in southern Nevada, where
Area 51 is. Yeah.
Yes. The project that he was assigned to was called Galileo. Yes.
Galileo. Beautiful.
What was going on? What did he discover at S4?
I mean, he explains that his first day of the job at S4 was just mostly paperwork and really boring. He met his boss. You know what his boss's name was?
Well, let me take a wild guess. Dennis.
Dennis. Look at this guy. Show
Wow.
off. Yeah. So his boss is the real Dennis
The
at
real
S4.
Dennis emerges.
I think at this time he also met his partner, Barry.
Not Barry White. Not Barry White. Calm down, everybody. It's not him.
Sure. Do you know it's not him?
I don't know.
I don't know Barry's last name.
I don't know. Yeah, he doesn't specify his last name. It could have been.
I've never seen any photos.
It could have been the Barry White. That's the only Barry that I know and that exists besides this Barry. So yeah, I think it could have been.
To be fair, I've always pictured Barry as, that like scientist figure in Independence Day, where he's the scientist that has like the crazy glasses and the crazy hair. And he's just like, yeah, we've been doing some really cool stuff down here. That has always been Barry in my mind.
I've always
like he just walks in and Barry's so hyped.
I've always pictured Barry White. So yeah, we clearly have very different different brains.
It's amazing. Barry explains to Bob that his partner died in a tragic accident, and
Ooh.
There's like almost no communication at all. You'll see as a running theme throughout his entire employment at S4 on purpose. So he doesn't exactly know what happened, but he comes to kind of piece it together, and he thinks that Barry's partner just exploded.
Yeah, I think he touched whatever that reactor was. Literally, like it's like a half of a basketball or something he described that is like the anti-gravitational device that he's meant to be back engineering. And I think that the previous partner, like touched it and exploded, like died.
He's basically shown their project. Again, he's not debriefed on any of this. There's no communication allowed between scientists from different departments, which he explains is
he
like
hates
a real
that shit. Yeah, he's like, I want to know what everybody's doing.
I want to hear all the gossip.
He's Mr. Popular too, he likes people. He really is a social butterfly,
Yeah. And he's only allowed Barry and Dennis.
And Barry sucks, to be honest.
I bet he's cool.
No.
I don't know.
He hasn't come out and acknowledged any of this, so Barry sucks.
True. Why Barry?
Come on, Barry.
Where you at, Barry?
Do it, Barry. Save Bob.
So the craft that they're working on has some type of reactor within it that is like a basketball that's been sliced in half. And they have to just figure out how to make it go.
Just go.
And that's like all the information they have is like, how's this work? And he's just completely floored by it because as soon as you turn it on, you can't touch it. He explains it's like a magnetic field is around it or like there's something like he just can't get close to it even.
Mm-hmm.
He thinks that basically the last partner just tried to get a bit too close.
Flew a bit too close to the sun there, Barry's partner. R.I.P.
Yeah, and Barry explains that it's definitely some type of propulsion system that was found in the recovered craft. And he quickly discovers that it's an anti-gravitational reactor.
One of those.
This is, so I'm not a scientist.
You're not?
Laura might be a scientist. I'm not sure.
I don't tell you a lot about my life. So
I'm assuming most of you guys aren't scientists either. But this is fucking nuts. Like an anti-gravitational reactor is so far removed from any sort of technology we currently have that if you put it in a science fiction movie, it would look far-fetched.
I was going to say that. I feel like even in like the sci-fi movies of the time, like that wasn't even a thing. Like that wasn't even talked about. That's why this is so crazy. Because like Bob was literally talking about this shit and it wasn't even like, oh, well, that was just in that movie. It's like, nah, like this wasn't anything.
Yeah, it's like not even part of like the cultural lore when it comes to UFOs and stuff. He just like
figured out. Basically, just like fucking do it. Just, hey, do this, Bob. Do it. Give us this. Make this into something we can use. It's like, okay, I don't think he does it, right? He like doesn't succeed.
No, he doesn't succeed for sure. But he does
He does see a lot of shit while he's there.
He does see a lot of shit. He figures out that somehow it's using a stable version of element 115,
Right.
which again, don't know if you guys know this. That's not an element that exists.
Well, now it kind of does. Yeah, we can talk more. We can talk more about that a little bit later.
But he figures out that it's using element 115.
Yes.
He also figures out that it's using gravitational waves.
Oh yeah, that's another thing. Because at the time, it was all like, "Oh, gravity is particles."
Gravity is
What
particles.
does that mean? Particles? Like that doesn't make sense.
I don't know. I don't understand
Particles of
what any of this
gravity?
means, but I know that it's different.
Waves like does make more sense to me though. It's like I feel like waves, like you can like, lounge on a wave, you can float on a wave, right? But like a particle, like that just doesn't compute in my scientific brain.
Totally.
The scientist in me is balking at that.
It also gives off no heat whatsoever and no exhaust whatsoever.
The craft. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So let's talk about like what he actually sees at S4. So he sees various crafts, 11 in total, right? That's like a pretty big number of crafts. Like, and that's
like sees them like walking around like through side doors and stuff.
Yeah. They're not like showing him. He's like walking around like I think they're like leading him to different like areas, and then like he's just happening to see like all these different crafts. And they do like they vary in size, they vary in like looks, it's not like it's all the same.
Yeah, he said he liked one in particular that he called the sports model.
Yeah, his favorite was the sports model because he's really a true dudes rock. He's a true like honestly, he's just staying true to the cause of dudes rock. Like he loves sports and model.
He likes what he likes.
And then he is it the sports model that he sees like lift off of the ground? Like he sees one of the craft in operation. I don't know if it's a sports model, but it's definitely one of them. He sees lift off of the ground. There's no visible exhaust. Again, there's a little bit of like a humming sound, but it's virtually silent. And it does appear to be using the anti-gravitational system.
He witnesses something clearly lifting off the ground, giving off no heat, giving off no exhaust, using this weird system. I mean, this is completely foreign. And he starts at this point getting like a little weirded out and starts thinking back to all of his paperwork that he signed. Because, I mean, you guys have all started jobs where it's just like, yeah, check here, whatever.
Sign your life away. Who cares?
He remembers seeing some weird shit at this point, and he's like, they did mention something about this craft coming from the Zeta Reticuli galaxy.
Yes. He's like, wait a second. Hold on a second. Yeah. These crafts came from the Zeta Reticuli galaxy star system. And apparently also that these creatures or these crafts have been interacting with us humans for the past 10,000 years.
Yeah, that was all in his like day one paperwork that he just like skimmed over.
He was just like, this is bullshit. Spoke bullshit. I'm a rock star. I'm not going to read this. Yeah. So,
I mean, he also talks about when he was like looking inside one of the craft that it was so uniform inside that it almost looks like it was like melded together. Like there was no corners. It was completely smooth, and there was
like it was plastic melted over like a mold, and there were like little seats in there, like a little console. Very little, like it
very small,
tiny guys,
and no
tiny guys,
no definite like steering material.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how to steer. No navigation
steering
systems.
Material that causes steering.
Yeah, I've steered before.
Element steering. Makes sense. Yes, cool.
Yeah,
I vouch for that as a scientist. I vouch for that steering material.
Of course. But he sees none of that.
So were they using their minds?
Who knows? Honestly,
he sees a guy. He could have asked the guy he saw. He saw a little man.
Okay, he's come forward. Okay. He was walking past a room one time, and he describes like kind of peeking in the room real quick and seeing a very little tiny figure that freaked him out. But he's also
like with other scientists. Like it was like other scientists like in lab coats, and then like in between them was like a small child.
But he's very hesitant to come out and say it was anything weird. He says it could have just been a doll.
No, dude. That's like people telling him to say that or something. It was obviously.
But you think it was a freaking
Why
alien?
would it be a doll? What the fuck?
Why would it be an alien?
Because they have their
just hanging out, talking to all of them.
Yes.
with people just walking around,
just hanging, just like sipping some cold ones, talking about what goes on in Zeta Reticuli, I 100% believe that it was an alien. Yes.
Oh my god, I think it was a doll.
A doll. That's
maybe.
I don't know. We disagree there. Clearly, that's a disagreement between us. All right, let's talk about how
we'll talk about this later.
Yeah, we'll talk about this off air. Very disappointed in you, Tal.
So, I think that his days pretty much continue like this, but he's not there for very long. He's only there for a few months.
Yeah. This is very brief. He's not like, he doesn't have tenure or anything. He fucking like bounces out of there because, he does start to feel very uncomfortable.
Well, he starts getting taken off the schedule.
Right.
Okay, so basically when he signed up to work at S4 and he was signing away all of his rights, what he didn't realize is that part of what he was signing away was his personal privacy, because at S4, they have to basically make sure that everyone has a super stable home life.
Right.
And so they were tapping into his home phone.
Oh.
And while tapping into his home phone, they found out that his wife was having an affair.
Oh.
I know. And they were nervous that it would start to affect him. They didn't know what was going to happen at work because of it. So they stopped giving him shifts. And he doesn't know any of this. He doesn't know his wife's having an affair. No. I don't even know if he knew that they were tapping into his phone.
No, I don't think I think he had like some suspicion. I know that he definitely started to get paranoid. Like before they, they caught him, like when he was bringing his friends up to see the crafts and stuff. Like,
right.
I know that he was suspicious of people like following him and like unmarked like black cars and stuff. He started to feel very strange, To go back, Bob wanted to be Mr. Cool Guy and secretly bring some of his friends up to see the alien craft.
Well, because he's just scared because he's like, why am I not getting any more hours? I'm pretty sure I've been up there looking at fucking alien spaceships. Right. So he gets his buddies together. He gets old Desert Blast crew together, and he actually had the flight schedule from where they test these crafts. And so he got a bunch of beers and his old buddy Gene Huff.
Oh yeah, Gene Huff.
And went out into one of the scheduled flights. Mm-hmm. And we have this video of the craft.
Oh yeah.
Like you can easily Google
It's
this.
like a super shitty VHS video. Like it's really bad, but it's definitely good at the same time because you can see it. You can see the light.
Yeah, I mean it's from the 80s and it's a VHS tape.
Terrible quality for sure. It's filmed with a potato, as they say.
Yeah.
It's still,
but no, I mean it looks like a UFO.
I watched like some video of John Lear like at Groom Lake too. Like John I think John Lear went with him.
Oh really?
Yeah.
One of those times.
Yeah.
He was part of the Desert Blast crew.
Yeah, I think he was part of the dudes movement. Okay, one of these times though that they were out there looking at alien crafts doing their thing, he was caught.
Yeah, it was like the third time or
he
something,
was
right?
Caught. So basically security officers were hiding in the bushes, and then like what? It's like they're doing it, they're like, ah ha ha, like laughing, like, wow, it's so crazy. And then all of a sudden like a red light like turns on. Like they're like, oh, you see that? And then it was like all these fucking security officers were just like, like, Bob, we got you fucking asshole. Like, how dare you?
Yeah, he explains that like something like fell off from one of the guys that was watching him and like rolled towards him like a piece of equipment, and he was like, what the hell? And then like it's like all the lights come on. It's like they had been out there watching them the whole time, and he was like, all right, Bob. Big Bobby.
The gig is up.
Show's over. Come with me.
No more Mr. Cool for you. So they bring him into a room and they revoke his clearance. And then they tell him that they discovered that his wife was having an affair, like through the phone tapping. They're like, look, we got to tell you this. Like your wife was having an affair. It's like, this isn't easy for either of us, Bob. They just told him to like, bring him down a peg. It's like, oh, you think you're so cool? Well, your wife is fucking
think so?
Getting dicked down by someone else. Clearly you're not satisfying her, Bob.
Man, what an asshole.
I know. It's like, why would you pick that time, to tell him?
When he's already down.
Yeah, kick him while he's down. Salt in the wound. But yeah, so Bob was obviously very upset about that. Again, like afterwards, he feels like he's being followed. He feels like everything is being monitored. He becomes like pretty paranoid.
I mean, at this point, he's like, okay, now I know I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
They already know that I'm willing to like share the secrets I've learned.
They're gonna fucking kill me.
There was one story he thinks that he got shot at.
Yeah, right. Yes. Probably not, but he likes to pretend.
It probably
Yeah,
wasn't.
he likes to pretend stuff.
I assume it was like a car backfiring or something, and he just assumed that someone was shooting at him. But he was very scared.
So anyway, let's move on to the interview that he does with my mentor in journalism, George Knapp. Do you know who says that?
No.
Jeremy Corbell.
Stop. We're not channeling Corbell on this podcast right now.
I've just watched so many like interviews with Jeremy Corbell, and like every single interview he says, my mentor in journalism, George Knapp. My mentor in journalism, George Knapp.
Oh my God.
He's my mentor in journalism, George Knapp. Oh yeah, that's my mentor in journalism, George Knapp. He just another thing he says is weaponize your curiosity. I just want to weaponize my curiosity. My mentor in journalism, George Knapp, wants to weaponize my curiosity.
We're going to not weaponize anything right now.
He thinks he's so cool. I hate Jeremy Corbell so much. I hate him.
So we're not going to get into this.
I will after. Let's talk about this interview with my mentor in journalism, George Knapp.
So yeah, I guess he was already big buds with John Lear, Mr. Bobby, because he had taken him out for one of those flight tests, and John Lear he ran for state senator at one time, got some connects, and he introduces LAZAR to George Knapp, who
John Lear actually, he was a previous guest on whatever the show was that George Knapp did, because he broke a story. This particular story, John Lear was talking about secret fighter jets. So like basically like stealth jets, like as we know them today, like that was like not a thing before, obviously. And then like John Lear is the one who kind of like broke that story and like made it public. And so and that was with George Knapp. And so, but yeah, so John Lear, he knew Bob LAZAR from the rocket car shit. Like again, like Bob LAZAR was just fucking killing it, like with that rocket car. Like he was really like a celebrity from that.
Yeah, he's a pretty cool
everybody
dude.
Knew him. Everybody wanted to, get a piece, get a piece of that ass. So then that's the connection, just in case anybody was confused. The connection is John Lear introduced Bob LAZAR to George Knapp.
So George Knapp interviews Bob LAZAR, gets it on the evening news on KLAS in Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
You can imagine like people are just kind of like, what the fuck? Like, what is this? George Knapp is kind of what the fuck, what is this? So he does what any good investigative journalist would do, and he reaches out to Los Alamos right away to verify the story.
Yeah, and they're like, nah, we don't know him.
Yeah, they're like, we've never heard of him, is what they said.
Yeah, okay.
So he does some digging and sees that in the newspaper, he's listed right on the front page. You can just Google this newspaper right now if you want to see for yourself. And he's just listed as a physician at Los Alamos.
No, a physicist. He's suddenly a doctor now.
He's listed as a physicist at Los Alamos,
treating a lot of wounds.
And he also was listed in the phone book at Los Alamos.
Oh my God.
Right next to all the other scientists.
Blatant lie. Like they were just lying. Like,
yeah.
So ridiculous.
And he called back again and was like,
hey,
what do you have to say about all this? And they again were just like, yeah, never heard of him.
They actually went there. Like I read something where George and Bob actually went like in person to Los Alamos. And
oh, no way.
Yeah. And then like all the employees there, like at the time, were like, yo, Bob, like, hey, what's up? Like they knew him and they were treating him like, the super cool dude that he is, like they told him to drop trow. He did. Like old time's sake, for old time's sake.
Right.
And it was a great time.
Fascinating.
And then Bob kind of gets into like during this interview with George Knapp, he does get more into like the fact that they are trying to erase him because they can't kill him, because he knows that like, now that he's gone public, like that'll just like, legitimize everything he's talking about.
Oh my God, of course. He can't die now.
So instead of killing him, they're just going to erase him and discredit him in any way possible. So that's why like his birth certificate goes missing. college records go missing.
Yeah, he claims that he went to college at Caltech. He claims that he went to college at MIT. We can't find any evidence that he did any of that. He says it's because they erased him, but we definitely don't have any record of him.
We don't. Okay. Talia.
Yeah.
Towel.
Laura.
Towel for short.
Long dick Laura.
Why do we believe Bob? Why do we believe him? Let's like give some reasons why.
Okay.
Why is he credible? Why is he cool? Why is he a dude's rock guy?
Okay. So first of all, you guys might remember from our last episode that the type of craft that we have video evidence of, some 20 odd years later, Bob Lazar was describing in the 80s perfectly. Yeah. He describes craft that used these anti-gravitational propulsion systems, turned up over, belly forward, and took off.
The fuck me position.
Right. And that's exactly what we have video evidence of now. I mean, the type of things that he was describing, we have now proven exist.
Yeah. He was a modern day soothsayer.
Yeah. He also, back in 89, he described element 115, which again, at the time, everyone's like, there's no such thing as element 115. You crazy weird Bob.
You loon.
And, you loon. Well, in 2003, in a lab, they created element 115 for the tiniest fraction of a second.
Yeah.
And they have since been able to do it again.
It's called moscovium now. Yes.
Okay.
That's what it is. It's a thing. But and, it's not. It's a thing that we like have to create. You know, it's nothing that is just natural here on Earth.
To Earth.
Yeah, that's like the weird thing about it. But we are able to create it.
Yeah.
It's not stable. But yeah, it's like that's the thing. It's like Bob was fucking talking about this shit. He possibly stole some of it too.
Yeah. He would later in 2017 he'd be raided.
Oh yeah. He was raided by the FBI.
He was raided by the FBI. He says it's because the FBI thinks he has some of this element 115, and they raided his apartment, whatever, messed up his life. Because of disclosure, we're allowed to see the official documents. And the official reason the FBI listed for the raid is murder.
A murder most foul.
They said he was under suspicion for
a
murder
most Lazar. He was connected to this murder of a woman who apparently died of like some poisoning by a chemical that like literally only Bob and like maybe 2 other people in the entire world like knew how to create.
Right.
Yeah, so but he was cleared of it. Actually, that happened like
totally cleared.
Didn't that happen in the middle of the Jeremy Corbell like documentary? Like he was raided like yeah, it was like this thing where he was like trying to call Bob and like Bob wouldn't answer, and then he later found out that he was
please answer.
Was, please.
Did he say please? Did he say please respond?
He did not say please respond. That was his first mistake.
That
was his first of hundreds of thousands of mistakes that Jeremy Corbell has made.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Also the timestamps are wrong. If you watch that documentary, he like is pretending to text with Bob, and the timestamps are like all over the place. If you pay attention, they're like not right. He did not commit that murder, ladies and gents. He did not. He did not kill that woman. As much as the FBI wanted him to have been the person, he did not.
No. I really think they were raiding his house because they thought he had element 115.
Yeah, that's probably more likely the reason. They didn't like that he had it. He definitely was in possession of it. Yeah, so another reason that we believe him is the gravitational waves shit, dude. Like, yeah, he was talking about waves back in the 80s before it was cool, before it was in vogue.
Right.
To talk about gravity being in waves. And it was all like, oh, it's particles. Like, we're lame and basic as fuck. It's like gravity is fucking particles. It's like, nah, dude, it's waves. And everybody was like, shut up, Bob.
He says that he doesn't really care about this one as much because he's like, oh, well, I had a 50-50 chance of being right either way. So he like doesn't really think that he's allowed too much credit, but I believed you, Bob.
All right, listen.
I trust
you. This
is
the thing that really freaks me out. Okay. Bob talks about the biometric hand scanner that he had to use.
Oh my fucking God. Let's get into this.
We're going there. So he talks about this hand scanner that he had to use to enter the various sites on S4.
Like his security
Yeah,
clearance.
it's a biometric reader. So basically it like measures your bone density, it measures your particular hand print, right? Talks about it. The thing is, if you've ever seen the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind, you'll realize that the same exact thing happened in that movie. They used.
But there's
I
a
know
reason
the
for
reason.
this, Laura. Oh my God.
I know the reason. Tell me the reason. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Because the scientific consultant for the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind was none other than Dr. J. Allen Hynek, who was the head of Project Blue Book. He started out as a complete skeptic. He's like the real life Scully.
Yeah.
He started out as a skeptic, became the head of Project Blue Book, and by the end of Project Blue Book, by the end of his time there, was a full believer in aliens and UFOs.
Oh, yeah.
And he met with Steven Spielberg to go over the like different types of possible alien technology.
And he threw that shit in there. He threw in the hand scanner.
Of
Like he's like, oh
course.
yeah, no, like I use this all the time. Like this will definitely bring your movie up to the next level. Like this is cool. You know, like this is what we
he
use.
also met with Jacques Fillet.
Is cool.
Jacques Fillet.
Jock Chick-fil-A.
Jock Chick-fil-A. No, he met with Jacques Fillet as well for this movie, who is another big figure in the world of UFOs. We'll get into at some point.
He has a great head of hair.
He actually had a character in. He does. There was actually a character in Close Encounters based off of him. It's that like French scientist. So there's a lot of truth in that movie,
Right, and I will also say the little boy in that movie was named Barry.
No fucking way.
Yeah, just like Bob's partner. So, you know, make of that what you will, but I think that that's the smoking gun, honestly. That is above.
Wait, what are you implying?
I'm implying that Bob is 100% right. I don't know why, but he is. Barry is the little boy's name, Barry White. Okay. Also, Bob, he volunteered to take 4 different lie detector tests, and he passed them all.
Yeah, he did pass them all. He convinced the man running those things that he was
Why
correct.
do you think it was a man running those things?
I remember reading an interview, and it was specifically a man that they were interviewing.
Typical man. Anyway, also another thing, and I don't know, this is kind of 50-50 with me, but so Edward Teller, our old pal, our old bud, you know, Daddy H.
Yes.
Daddy H Bomb, he was asked in an interview about Bob, and they were like, oh, like what's your relationship with Bob LAZAR? Like you want to talk about him? And he got like really defensive, and he was like, I'm not gonna talk about that. Like
it's one thing if you're like, oh, I don't know him, or you know, whatever, to just deny it, but he was like, do not
don't ask me about it. Like
that. I will leave the interview.
Yeah. So to me, it's like that could either be one of 2 things. He could be annoyed that he's constantly like associated with Bob, like somehow that happened, like somehow his name got brought up in the Bob LAZAR story, and he's just like annoyed that people keep asking him about it, and he's just like, shut the fuck up, like I don't want to talk about that fraud. Or he's hiding the truth.
He's definitely hiding the truth.
He could be hiding the truth.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think he is. He's dead now, but you know, we'll see.
Okay, well, he was hiding the truth, and now he'll hide it forever.
Okay, why is Bob full of shit?
Okay, for starters, we can't locate any of his school records.
We can't.
Nor his professors. There's been a couple weird instances where he was like, oh, just ask Professor, what was it?
Duxler,
that's it.
and Hosefield. Yeah. So he was asked, like, it was like, I don't know, he was speaking at some event, and they were like, oh, hey, Bob, like, yeah, since we can't locate your records, like, well, could you at least tell us, like, about your professors at MIT and Caltech? Like, talk to us about them. He was like, oh, yeah, my professors, Duxler and Hosefield. That's his voice.
That's not his voice.
I loved them. They were so great. Neither of which were at MIT or Caltech. Neither of which. Duxler and Hosefield, like, I think they were like his high school teachers or something. It was like really weird. And then this journalist, Linda Moulton Howe, said that she interviewed Bob in the 90s, and he told her that he never got a master's at MIT.
Right.
So, I don't know. Weird discrepancies, like weird.
I don't think he did go to MIT.
I
don't think he
either.
went to these schools. But I mean, when people talk about this stuff to discredit Bob, they talk about it as if like, oh, he didn't go to MIT and so he's not a scientist. Like he's
Dude.
clearly a science nerd.
He
Come on.
definitely was. To put a fucking rocket in your Honda, you have to be a complete and utter nerd and incel.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he knows what he's talking about whenever he has an interview.
Yeah, you're not a Chad. And he so badly wanted to be a Chad, though, that he was like, I'm going to just do whatever it takes, you know? And so then I think he just got lucky. I think he just got lucky. He just like met the right people, Edward Teller being one of them, and was able to fucking get in on that shit. I do believe that he was at Area 51. I 100% believe like the shit that he's talking about, the shit that's coming out now, like 100%. But anyway, another thing, like just a weird like one-off. There's like weird shit about his wives, multiple. Like his ex-wife apparently either killed herself or died from cancer. He tells multiple stories. Like there's multiple records of like him telling this like, you know, kind of over the top story where she like killed herself in their garage because she found out she had cancer. And then there's another story he tells where it's like she just dies from cancer. Like she just, you know, succumbs to whatever.
Well, maybe he just, you know, wants to be more subtle about it. And he says the cancer killed her. And, you know.
I don't know. Why lie? But, well, why lie? But
I mean, yeah, there's some parts of his story that are a little suspicious.
Yeah. Okay. So the last thing I'll say about him is that he does have a website. Do you know about Bob's website?
No.
Okay. So this is a website called UnitedNuclear.com.
Oh, right. His like chemical company.
Yeah. So he sells chemicals and various scientific equipment on there. That's I think why he was raided by the FBI, because they like found out that he possibly, I don't think he is anymore, but I think he possibly was selling like little bits of element 115 on this website.
Damn.
And that's, you know, again, like, yeah, whatever else he was selling to like was linked to the murder of this woman.
Right.
And he also sells merch on this website. I was looking at it just today, and yeah, he sells like so he drew the sports model craft that he saw, right? Like that's like that famous drawing. So he sells that drawing. He also sells like mugs, shirts, posters.
This doesn't discredit him for me.
It doesn't discredit.
He's allowed to make money too.
I know, but that was kind of like a point, I feel like, before where it was like, well, like, you know, is he really trying to make money off this story? Is he really like for profit? I mean, this, albeit it is very small. I'm sure he's not making a killing. I'm sure he's not able to retire off of his merch sales, but he is making merch, is all I'll say.
To me, I'm just like, how many times can one person guess and get it right? You know, like how many times can he just be like, oh, there's probably an element with theme. No, gravity is probably waves.
Yeah.
Oh, they probably turn belly forward and take off. Like how many times can one person make those assumptions and be correct?
Wait, can I play a little video? Because this is like the thing that really solidified it for me. Like he does talk about like the specific ways of propulsion.
There's what they call Omicron configuration, where the craft is using one generator, or Delta configuration, where it's utilizing all three. Delta configuration would be for space travel. Essentially, the craft will tilt up on its side, focus the three gravity generators to a single point, and move through space that way. If you were going to see one of these crafts at night operating, it would appear really as a glowing ball or just a bright light in the sky from a distance. Even close up, you know, you'd see a glowing halo around it. What you're dealing with is a high energy source in essentially a gas atmosphere, oxygen, nitrogen. And when you apply enough energy to a gas molecule, they emit photons, they emit light.
Bob deserves the fucking world for what you people have done to him for decades. He's been right from the start, and he's just been trying to tell us what he knows, and he has been tortured for it.
He has been tortured. Yeah. So that's the thing. It's just like, he specifically talks there about like the 3 gravitational propulsion systems where it's like, yeah, it is able to like turn the crafts. Like he saw that. He saw it in action in the 80s, and now all the videos that are coming out now, that's what you see. Like that's the Fleur video. That's
He's
the
been
fucking
telling
Go-Fast
us.
video. That's everything that is like accepted by fucking mainstream media now. It's not conspiracy anymore. It's 100% real, and Bob deserves a good dick sucking is what I'm saying. That's all I'll say.
Okay. Well,
Not from me.
from
Not from
someone.
me.
Is there
Someone.
anyone out there?
Is there anyone out there? Because it's getting harder and harder to breathe. That's
No,
Bob's
he
favorite
just
song.
yeah, I feel like he's just sitting at home watching the news, just like shaking his head. He's just like, have you guys even been listening to me? I've been saying this for so long.
Shaking his damn head, dude.
Shaking his damn head.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I love Bob.
all right. So I think that officially we both believe Bob.
We believe Bob. I hate Jeremy Corbell, though. I do hate him.
All right. So we're gonna not get into that.
I'm trying to get smoke from Jeremy Corbell. I want to like challenge him. I want to fucking.
You want to really get Laura going? Just mention Jeremy Corbell.
I will smoke him. I will. Like,
Okay.
I will fucking put him in his place because he's just like such a dumb hipster wannabe. Like,
My favorite part about
his
Jeremy
coffee
Corbell
collection
is
What?
that if we were to reach out to Jeremy Corbell and was like, hey, Laura wants to debate you, he probably would.
He would, but
Like, that's the type of person he is. He'd be like, yeah, well, I got some things to say to Laura.
yeah, he would, but he would be really passive aggressive about it. And I do not do well with passive aggressive people. Like, I will freak the fuck out. Like, there will be some shrillness. I will be shrill.
You don't even know how shrill I can get.
I can get very shrill. Yeah, I think that we should. Let's try to provoke him and get. That's never going to happen, but we'll.
Okay,
we
well,
can
we'll try.
dream.
We'll try.
We'll dream. Thank you for listening to us ramble about Baba LAZAR.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. If you guys want to also shit talk Jeremy Corbell, you can reach out to us on Twitter, on Instagram, on Reddit. We're on all of those things at TMTYD Pod.
Yeah, or tell us why he rules. I'd like to
Yeah.
hear some different viewpoints. I don't know. I haven't heard a single good thing about him, but if he does
God.
rule and I haven't heard about it, tell me why he's a Deuce Rock, because I don't know why.
You also can go to our website. It's tmtydpod.com, and there you can also find links to our Patreon, which is at Take Me to Your Dealer. I really, really think you guys should go out today and think about Bob, and think about what he's been through and what we can do for Bob.
Think about how chill he is and how much we've disrespected him. We've been very, very disrespectful of Bob.
Yeah.
It's not fair.
It's time he gets the respect that he's owed.
Free Bob, free Kevin.
Free Bob and free Kevin, both of them.
I thought that we were always talking about Kevin Federline. Are we talking about him?
No, we're not talking about Kevin Federline.
Why not?
No, who is that?
Because we're, Britney Spears, the free Britney.
Yeah, we're going to
movement.
edit all of this out.
Okay, listen.
Yeah, not
free
doing
Britney.
that.
No, but listen, free Britney. But hear me out. Hear me out. Free Kevin Federline, her ex-husband. Free him. What happened to him, right?
Free Britney, free Kevin, free Bob. Make sure that y'all go out there and legalize it. And congratulations, you're all officially bunked on Bob LAZAR.
Yeah. No more weed. We hate weed.
No more weed. NSFW. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.